Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Shubhansh. How are you?
I'm fine, ma'am. How are you?
I'm also good.
Ma'am, I have my science exams from 5th of November, UT3.
Which chapter is coming?
Ma'am, it will be our environment and how do organisms reproduce in biology.
Okay. Okay. Anyhow, after this, I will be starting the environment only.
Ma'am, the exam will be of 30 marks and it will be of 30 marks each subject.
Good evening. Okay. Each subject means physics, chemistry, and bio different
Yes, ma'am.
separately.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Sumuk. Good evening, Moksha. So last time, what we have completed? I think we are done with the brain, the forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain
Yes, ma'am.
function.
Forebrain.
Okay. So now we will be starting with the next topic, which is the spinal cord.
Okay, ma'am.
We'll wait for a few minutes. Let them join the class.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, we'll start now. Children, turn on the video. Shubhansh, Moksha, Sumukh, Rizwana, turn on the video. Okay, so the next topic what we are going to start with is the spinal cord. So spinal cord, do we have that, the spinal cord? Shubhansh is saying yes, we have that spinal cord. And if the spinal cord gets break, then what will happen?
We
We will not
will,
be able to
ma'am,
not
we
be
will bend aside.
We will bend, and moreover the information, the major information, which is like, with the quick response, like the
It
reflex
will
action,
lag.
will not be done, actually, will not be done, right? So that is why, like, your parents will be saying to the smaller kids, especially, that we should not beat them at the back, not so strong, with not so strong hand. We should not, beat them, or we should not tap them with a strong hand, because ultimately their bones are very soft, right? If we bang them with a strong hand, then they might collapse. The spinal cord might get breakdown. So that is why we have to be very, very careful. So as like, just 1 minute. So like as like, the spinal, as like the skull is in the skull, what do we have? We have the brain. Same way, the spinal cord is also protected by the structure. What it is called as? What's the name?
Cereb. No, 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 no,
That
no.
is the
nervous system.
brain. No, it starts with the V. Good evening, Horia. It starts with the
Vertebral,
V. Vati?
vertebral column, vertebral
What?
column.
Very good, Shubhansh. Vertebral column. So the brain will be protected by the skull, by the cranium in a box-like structure, in a bone-like structure. Same way, the spinal cord is also protected in a bony-like structure, in a box-like structure called as the vertebral column. Fine. So
It
this,
help
uh, yeah, tell me, Sumukh.
nothing.
So it's a very long, actually long, whitish color cylindrical rod which is present at the back part of the our body. Fine. So the major thing is like what they will be doing. They will be taking the information and then they will be returning it, right? Sensory neuron will be taking, then it goes to the relay neuron where the spinal cords will be there, and in return the spinal cord will be giving it to the motor neuron, and motor neuron will give you the response. So that is a major function that will be done by the spinal cord. Taking the information, the sensory neuron will be accepting it, then they will be passing it to the spinal cord in return what they will be doing, they will be giving the response, and at the end, there will be the response with us, and we will start answering to that. So that is what the main function of the spinal cord is. Fine. Now, we will not be studying very much detail the spinal cord because it is not required at this moment to do that. Instead of that, we will be going to the next part. So we are done with the central nervous system. Central nervous system, two major components were there, which are the brain and the spinal cord. Now coming to the next one is the peripheral nervous system. Correct? Peripheral nervous system. How many parts does it have? I think we have studied it. Two types are there. Any idea? In the differences, we did it.
No, schematic. No, I don't remember from. One of them is like autonomic nerve cells. Autonomic
Autonomic nervous system and the somatic nervous system. So peripheral
somatic.
nervous system, basically what they will be doing, they will be connecting the uh, different kinds of the nerves which are present in our bone, be it the spinal nerve, be it the cranial nerve. So all those nerves will be connected with the help of the peripheral nervous system. I hope you remember that PNS we have studied. So just let me, revise first of all that PNS part with you. I'll share the screen. I'll Go for the differences because it is very important that you should know it. Is my screen visible?
It's
Yes,
loading.
children. It's still loading. Wait, let me share it again. Stop. Is it visible now?
No,
No. Now is it visible?
yes, ma'am.
Yes, children. Is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am. It's
Yes,
visible.
ma'am.
Okay. So I'll just tell you where we have discussed. I think somewhere the lecture 6 or 7. Here. So I'll just revise this part so that you can recall, you can recapitulate. So in the nervous system, we have discussed the two types are there: central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Okay. In the peripheral nervous system, it has the two divisions, which are the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. Fine. So peripheral nervous system has a two divisions, somatic and the autonomic nervous system. Now this autonomic nervous system has again two divisions, sympathetic and the parasympathetic. So what we did after this flow chart, we have discussed the differences between all these components because it is very important for the board exam. So make sure that you know the division of it. Nervous system, the two major type are the CNS and PNS. Under the PNS, two other types are the somatic and the autonomic. And under the autonomic, the other two types are the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. Now coming to the CNS and PNS differences, the first thing we discuss about the definition, what are they exactly? So when we talk about the CNS, so all the central processing unit, they will be doing it, they will be working on it. So whatever the thinking you are doing, whatever the processing is happening, like the computer in your body, in your brain, that will be done by the CNS. Whereas in the case of the PNS, they will be connecting the CNS with the other body part. So CNS basically has a brain and spinal cord, right? But that brain and the spinal cord also should get connected with the other body parts. So who will be helping them out? The PNS. So the brain and the spinal cord, which is a part of the central nervous system, will be connected to other body parts with the different nerves. Those nerves are basically the peripheral nerves. What they are made up of? The CNS is made up of the brain and spinal cord, whereas the PNS is made up of the somatic and the autonomic nervous system. Whereas CNS is protected by the skull and the PNS is protected by the vertebral column. And the major function of the CNS is to store, comprehend, and execute information in our body. So, whatever the information we are getting, what we are doing, we are storing it. Now, if I am teaching you something, what you will be doing? You will be keeping it in your mind. But what happened after some minutes or after some hours, that part, the whatever I'm teaching you will be washed away, right? It happens. Some of you will be keeping it for long, some of you will be washing it away from the brain. So it is not you at fault, it is your body system who is working according to your body need. So the CNS, which is basically brain and spinal cord, they will be storing the information, they will be comprehending. Comprehending means they will be analyzing it, that what kind of information it is. And then finally, on the basis of their analyzing, they will be executing that information. So if you see a ball in front of you, the spinal cord will be seeing it with the help of the sense organ, right? They will be analyzing that it is a ball in front of you. And ultimately, you will be responding or you will be executing that either you will be kicking it, either you will be lifting it. It depends upon you. So all these work will be done by the CNS. Whereas the PNS, as mentioned already, it's a connecting link between the CNS and the other body part. They will be transmitting the information from and to the CNS and the other body parts. So whatever the information they get it from the body parts or maybe from the brain and spinal cord, they will be helping them to get transferred. So that is the major function the PNS will be doing. They will be helping for the transmission of the information. Now damage, the CNS can lead to the global damage. Global damage means that whole body system can get damaged. Like you might have heard, like, if a person get the brain hemorrhage, the whole body does not get work, or they might be, paralyzed. In the case of the PNS, a particular organ does not work. So here, the localized means a particular organ does not work effectively. Then the differences between the somatic and the autonomic nervous system. Somatic is basically which regulates the voluntary movement. Just one. So somatic is basically they regulate the voluntary movement of the skeletal muscle. So whatever the action you want to do it, they will be controlling it. Whereas autonomic, as a name, they themselves says it, involuntary actions will be, will not be controlled by us. They will be under the internal organs control only. The nature, the somatic they are the voluntary, whereas the autonomic is the involuntary in action. What they are made up of? The somatic is basically made up of the spinal and the cranial nerves, and the autonomic is made up of the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. What about their nature? In the case of the somatic, they will be their functions are less as compared to the ANS. ANS is more complicated. Why ANS is more complicated? Because there we cannot control them, right? The somatic we can control them, but whereas the ANS we cannot control them. That is why it becomes more complicated.
Ma'am,
That's why it become more. Yeah, tell me.
can you explain ANS and SONS again?
ANS and the somatic and the autonomic nervous system, right? Okay, in the case of the somatic nervous system, whatever the voluntary actions we have, like walking, writing, speaking, so all those voluntary actions which are under our control, they will be doing it actually. The somatic nervous system will be helping it. Whereas the involuntary action, like the sneezing, coughing, or the pumping of the heart, which involves the internal organs, that will be done by or that will be under the category of the autonomic nervous system. This nature, when we talk about nature, means whether they are voluntary or involuntary. In the case of somatic, they are voluntary. It means they can be controlled, the action can be controlled. Whereas autonomic, they cannot be controlled. That is why the involuntary actions they have. Then somatic, the main component, what they include or what they are made up of is the spinal and the cranial nerve. The two types of nerves are there, spinal and cranial nerves. When we talk about the spinal nerves, it means the nerves which are present around the spinal cord, okay? And the cranial nerves, when we talk about, it means the nerves which are present in the skull part of our body. Whereas in the ANS, it includes two parts, sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, whose difference we will be learning now. We will be revising it now, okay? Then talking about the function, when we talk about the somatic, their function is little less as compared, to less simple as compared to the autonomic. Because in the case of the autonomic, what happens? It is not under the control of us, right? So automatically it is happening. So that is why it becomes more complicated. Sneezing, you cannot control it. Blinking, you cannot control it. So all those things cannot be controlled. That is why the functions of the autonomic becomes more complex. Now, what kind of muscles they work on? In the case of somatic, they work only on the skeletal muscles, basically only on the movement of your hands, movement of your legs, movement of your tongue, that will be controlled by the SONS. Whereas if we talk about the autonomic nervous system, they will be working on the glands as well as the cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscle means the muscles which are related to the heart. Fine, so they will be working on that, and also they will be working on the smooth muscles. Fine, so they will be working these. Then the next we have discussed about the two types of the autonomic, which is sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is basically the fight or flight response. It means you get very hyperactive in this condition. Like, if you're watching the horror movie, what happened? All of a sudden you start getting fear. That is because of the sympathetic nervous system. Your blood pressure gets increased. You will be demanding for more oxygen, right? So that is what sympathetic, when your body will be, under the fight and the flight condition. Whereas in the parasympathetic, it's the opposite of that. After some time, after watching the movie, sometime, what happened? You get relaxed. You come back to the original position, right? You will not feel scared. Your oxygen level come down. Your BP will come down, right? You become very normal. So that is why this PSNS is called as a rest and digest. So sympathetic is called as fight and flight because you are becoming so hyperactive, your body is becoming active. So that is why it's called as fight and the flight. Whereas in the parasympathetic, it is opposite. Your body will relax down, your oxygen level go down, the BP go down, and that is why it is called as the rest and digest kind of the nervous system. So function sympathetic, they will prepare the body for emergency situation. So sometimes what happen, like your parents or maybe your mother or father, they are scolding you, right? Sometimes you are already prepared. Like if you get low marks, you're already prepared that your mother is going to shout on you, your father is going to shout on you, right? So how you're prepared? It is not you are preparing yourself. It is the body system which prepares you actually accordingly. So this sympathetic, what they will be doing, they will be preparing your body for any kind of the emergency situation. So like you are going out, all of a sudden any bike comes in between you. So you are very well prepared, right? You know that you have to move back. If something is coming in your way, you will be going back. So that is what the SANS will be helping you out. It prepares for all the kind of the emergency. Whereas in the case of the parasympathetic, what happened? They will be bringing your body back again to the relaxed position. They will be resting your body at the same pace, same levels. So what they will be doing, they maintain a conserve function when the body is at rest. So when your body is at rest, they will be making you calm, they will be making you relax, and that is why it is called as the rest and digest system. Now, the importance why these both are very important. So, if we talk about the sympathetic, they are for the rapid, for producing the rapid and total mobilization to avoid danger. Now, if in our body we do not have sympathetic, then what happens? We will not be aware that someone is coming in our way, right? We will not be getting to know. And if you touch the hot object, you will not be aware that you have to take your finger back or what action you should take it, what response you should give it, right? So that is why this sympathetic is important. It helps you to understand actually what is happening in and around you. Whereas in the case of the parasympathetic, whatever conditions you have gone through, it will be helping you to come back in the normal position. So that is what the main work of the parasympathetic work will be. Then overall impact, overall effect, how it will be. So due to the sympathetic, the heartbeat will increases, heart rate will increases, the demand for oxygen will also be increases. But when we talk about the parasympathetic, it will be opposite. It will bring down your heart rate to the normal. It will bring down your oxygen rate to the normal. So everything in your body will become normal in the case of the parasympathetic. Understood, children? What is ANS? What is PNS? What are they? Somatic, autonomic.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Once
Yes,
the
Arav, understood?
somatic nervous system example, like actions.
What I should repeat?
The somatic nervous system examples, like involuntary actions.
Somatic nervous system. So when we talk about the somatic nervous system, it is basically the part of the peripheral nervous system. Fine. So in the case of the somatic, whatever the actions you are doing, voluntary, with your will, whatever you are doing, that will be controlled by the somatic part of it. So be it like walking, be it like, you are dancing. In the dancing also, you will be using your hands, legs and all. So that is because of your somatic nervous system. Whereas in the autonomic nervous system, basically most of the involuntary action, or I can say all of the involuntary actions will be done by them, like pumping of the heart. That is because of this autonomic nervous system. So it has a different components. Somatic has the spinal nerves and the cranial nerves. Spinal nerves are basically related to the spinal cord, and the cranial nerves are related to the brain part of it. Fine, Abhinav?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we were, I have just recapitulated now all the things. So that is what, like, we were into it. The main thing why I revised all these things, it is because of the peripheral nervous system. Already we have done with the peripheral nervous system. But yes, few things we should do it, which were missed during those time. I'll uh, okay. Now already we have discussed the definition, what they're related with. They have the two types, all those things we are done. The main thing is what I wanted to let you know is about the numbers, peripheral nervous system. So what they are associated with, they are associated or they are comprises so they are comprises of all the nerves. So whatever the nerves are there in the spinal, around the spinal, and also the cranial, they are included in that. So comprises of all the nerves of the body, and they are associated with the CNS. Associated. What is CNS here?
Cranial nervous system,
Cranial nervous system, and which includes what? Brain and the
spinal cord.
Spinal cord.
spinal cord. Okay, so they are connected with these two major things, brain and the spinal cord. So it consists of the numbers you should learn, children. It consists of 12 pairs of cranial nerves. Very important for your board exams. How many cranial nerves are present? So there are the 12 cranial nerves are present, which arise from the brain part. So cranial, basically it includes the brain. Then the next thing is of the spinal numbers. So there are 31 pairs of the spinal nerves, and these spinal nerves, they arise from the spinal, they arise from the spinal cord. Fine. So keep in mind, in the case of the cranial, it is the 12 pairs, and in the case of the spinal, it is the 31 pairs of the spinal nerves. And already discussed the types, two types of the peripheral nervous system. It is the somatic peripheral nervous system, and the autonomic peripheral nervous system. So this already we have discussed, so we will not be going into it. So note this point down. So peripheral nervous system, it will be comprising of the CNS, which includes the brain and the spinal cord. This brain is basically the cranial nerves, and this spinal cord is basically the spinal nerves. So that is why we say that the peripheral nervous system is acting like a bridge, because they will be connecting the brain through this cranial nerves, and they will be connecting the spinal cord through the spinal nerves to the other parts of the body. So note this down.
Ma'am, can you show the next page?
Yes, I can. Done, children, with this? Done with this somatic and autonomic?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now moving to the next one is about the protection. How these brain, spinal cord, or the whole body actually is being protected. So protection of CNS. So already we have discussed the brain will be protected by the crania. So brain lies inside a bony box which is called as a cranium. But apart from that also there are the layers. Does any one of you know what is the name of the layer which is being present in the brain? It is called as cranium. Any one of you the name? Yeah.
Ma'am, can you once again?
Meninges.
Very good, Riti. The name of the layers which is present around the brain, they are called as meninges. And these meninges or the layers will protect the brain actually. So not only the cranium, but yes, other few things are also present in the brain which will be helping them to get protected. So first thing is about the cranium, which is a bony box-like structure, whereas the spinal cord, they will be protected because they will be protected by the vertebral column. So they lies within the vertebral column, or we can say it as a backbone. So these two important things you should note it down. So brain will be protected by the cranium, and then this spinal cord will be by the vertebral column. Now apart from this, there are the additional protective covering. There are the additional protective coverings, and which are called as meninges. So meninges are nothing, children, but what they are the layers which are present around the brain. Fine, they are the layer which are present around the brain. Dhriti, do you know the name of these layers which are present?
Ma'am, like in detail.
Not in detail, just the name.
Dura matter, pia matter, and or arachnoid. Yes.
Correct. So name of the meninges or the name of the layers. What are meninges? But they are nothing but they are the layer only. So the three layers are there which are present in the brain, and they are durameter, D-U-R-A, durameter, then arachnoid meter, M-E-T-E-R. Actually, that's not meter, M-A-T-E-R.
They all protect the
And then
brain.
the last one, PIA. Yes, all three will be doing it. It's like, it's like something you're getting it from the market, okay? One polythene they are giving you, and what you are doing, you are keeping it in your bag also. So what happened? Double protection you are getting it. So same thing they will be doing. They with these three layers, different work will be done by them. Some they are hard, some they are thin, some they are the center. So all these three together will be working, and they will be giving the protection to our brain. So when I talk about this dura matter, it is basically the tough white outer layer. The second one, arachnoid, is the thin middle layer. And the last one is basically the thin, clear, and the innermost layer. So durameter is basically tough white outer layer, arachnoid is thin middle layer, and the
Ma'am, what?
matter is big. Tell me.
Ma'am, would this come in the exam?
See, never ever they asked for it, but yes, definitely the name you should know. The name of the layer you should know, meninges, but they have not asked about these types. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So dura, arachnoid, and the Fine. And then the next one is, apart from this, they will also have CSF. What is CSF? So CSF will be there, which is cerebrospinal
Spinal.
fluid. Fine. So along with the cranium, along with the vertebral column, along with the meninges, the CSF also will play a very important role. And where it is present, the CSF is present in the brain and spinal cord. So both the places they will have the CSF. This fluid will be there in both the places. In the brain also it will be there, and the spinal cord also will be there.
Ma'am,
And what do they do?
it
Hmm?
passes from the synapse.
Yes, it do that. No, actually, it does not require any kind of the passage because already it is being there in that passage. So it serves as a pad to to cushion the central nervous system from shock. So whatever shock we get, basically with the help of this CSF, our body or body will get protected. The brain will get protected. The spinal will get protected. And also this CSF not only protects from the shock, but also it provides a medium for the exchange. It provides a medium for exchange of food materials, waste, then the respiratory gases. So these materials also will be passed through this CSF. So what happens, see, in the spinal cord, this fluid will be there, in the brain, this fluid will be there. Now, this fluid will be just helping to get all these things to be passed from one part to other part. Now, if no fluid is there in the brain or the spinal cord, what happens? These certain things like the food, the nutrients will not be able to get passed easily. So along with the other parts, along with the blood, they will be also helping them to get passed through. Am I clear, children? Arav, Siddhi, Sudhamshu, Abhinav, Dhairya, Moksha, Rizwana, am I clear?
Yes,
Any
ma'am.
doubts you have?
Yes, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
So that's about the CSF or the meninges. So how this CNS is being protected in our body. Now coming to tomorrow's class, I hope you are aware. Tomorrow at what time do we have the class?
5 right
5 p.m.
Yes, tomorrow at 5 we will have the class. I think 5 to 6 we will be keeping the class tomorrow. And tomorrow we are done with the part which is related to the animal. Tomorrow we are going to start with the part of the plants. So in the plants, the different types of the growth hormones will be there, different types of the uh, movement will be there. So all those movements we will be starting to discuss, and small activities are also given in the plants, like how do they transfer the thing from one part to the other part. So all those activities video I'll be showing you and also explaining you how it happens, because in the board exam for 5 marks they ask about the plants to demonstrate the activity. How does the movement happen? The movement of the water happens, the movement of the stem happens towards the light. So all those things we will be discussing in tomorrow's class. Fine.
Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
have any doubts, children?
No, ma'am.
Rizwana, do you have any doubts?
Now, why are we ending this class so early? Are
6
we
o'clock I
getting
have started, Abhinav.
6 o'clock?
Yeah, I have messaged, I
Still,
think, in the group also. In the morning, 6 o'clock it will be there today. I
uh,
think you have missed that message. Okay, so never mind. Anyhow, we have revised the whole thing only in the 10 minutes, so no problem in that. Okay, but tomorrow make sure, children, that you join the class sharp at 5, so that we can start the new topic. And most probably next week I want to finish this chapter so that I can start with our environment chapter. Okay.
Ma'am, when will you start? Ma'am, can we first start with hereditary?
Some of you want to start with heredity, some of you with the R environment. So Inky Pinky Pongy will be doing. We'll have the voting tomorrow.
Okay.
Who wants to start with which chapter? Okay, so that there will not be partiality. Now Moksha is doing Inky Pinky Pongy. Okay, children, then. We'll meet you tomorrow at 5. And tomorrow, as usual, we'll have the classes, okay?
Okay.
Only the additional my class will be there because of the last week compensatory classes, okay? Otherwise, 6:10 you will have the physics class, I guess. And then the maths class also you will have as usual.
Okay.
Okay, children, then. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Thank you.